Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. I am double checking something. If you are listening, tell me. There we go. I do see it. I see the audio. Just making sure the audio is working. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's great to be back with you. I hope that you had an amazing Thanksgiving holiday, that you didn't eat too much. And if you did, that you're just trying to, I don't know, work it off as we try to wind down this year of 2023. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Um, we're winding down November. December starts on Friday, and then we're almost in 2024. So I hope that 2023 has been what you wanted it to be. If not, you still got a month to try to salvage some of the things that maybe you wanted to create or generate or to have happen. Or just end on a note that you can go into the next year on the upbeat, right? As always, welcome to Chalk Talk. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me. If you are, um, huh, interesting. I'm just looking at a note I had about something technical. But anyway, if you are new to the show, welcome. And if you've been here a while, please share this video with your online community so that we can continue to build our online tribe and our online community. There's so much happening in the world. And of course, we focus a lot on sports, but we talk about other things that matter too. So I'm going to tell you this a few times today. If you happen to be in the Houston area, we are in an election. So I'm encouraging you right now, even if you didn't vote in the general election, there is a runoff. You can vote in the runoff, even if you did not vote the general election. Now, it is not for me to tell you who to vote for, but it is my responsibility for me to encourage you to get out and exercise your right to vote. Your voice matters, and these elections are too important. We will be deciding in the city of Houston more than half of leadership, a mayor, several council members, and a city controller. So make sure that you get out and vote. Hop online, do a little research, and decide which candidate makes the most sense to you. Vote your values, vote what's going to help you and your family and your community. But whatever you do, you got to get out and vote. Don't believe it doesn't matter. Don't sit this one out. Your family, your community needs you. Your voice matters. And so make sure that you vote. With that said, as always, I want to make sure I tell you about a few of the people who help us do the show each and every week. Our good friends over at I Love Jinka have been with us for a while now, right? And I want to say thank you to them and remind you that you can get Jinka at HEB stores, and you can get it online if you're not in the Houston area, Southern Texas. You can get it at ilovejinka.com. It's great for inflammation. It's great for all sorts of aches and pains. The main product, the main ingredient of the 7 natural herbs that are in this product is a high grade of turmeric. And so here's where you can find it.
Here at HEB in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at that Jinka syrup. Look at that Jinka.
That's where you can find it if you happen to go to an HEB store. But remember, you can also always find it online. And of course, don't forget about your Kimmy treats. Great snack. If you're in Houston, you can get them in person over at Sunshine's Vegetarian Deli. There's the one in the medical center, near the medical center on Old Span Trail. There's the vegan popcorn. There are Kimmy bars. There's body butter. You can get all of it in person, or you can go online to kimmytreats.com and order your Kimmy treats today. You will not be disappointed. All right, so there is a lot that's happened since the last time we visited on the show. The Houston Texans had a tough loss at home against the Jaguars on Sunday. It was a division contest. They're now split with the Jags in the AFC South. Houston won the first game in Jacksonville. Jacksonville won this last game in Houston. It was a game for first place in the division. So the Jaguars have now improved their record to 8-3. Houston has fallen to 6-5. But the Houston Texans, it's amazing to say this in this year, are still in the hunt for a playoff spot. They could still get in and they can control it. So the Houston Texans play another big AFC matchup on this weekend. They will face the Denver Broncos, right? The Broncos come to town. The Broncos are riding a 5-game win streak. Russell Wilson, rather, not Westbrook, basketball player. Russ has been playing well, and the Broncos have been playing well. And so that's going to be a challenge for this Houston Texans team. They are wrapping up a 3-game homestand, and they need this win on Sunday. It would go a long way in helping them secure a spot in playoffs. So it's a division matchup, which is even more important because that's another team that's trying to get a spot in postseason. So let's talk a little bit about the game on Sunday against the Jags. CJ Stroud had another, impressive outing. He was over 300 yards. The run game kind of stalled. They weren't able to run the ball that well on Sunday. They lost the game up front. And you've heard me say here on this show before that games are won in the benches, which really means it's won on the offensive and defensive lines. What happens up front goes a long way in deciding what happens in a game. So I was going to pull out a couple of key things for you. So I'm looking at the game book Sunday. So CJ Stroud was the team's leading rusher. Not sure that that's ever really good. He had 6 attempts for 47 yards. And then Singletary finished with 6 attempts for 18 yards. Pierce, 5 attempts for 14 yards. And then Tank Dell had 1 for 12. So a big difference in what they've been able to do with the run game. That's one. In terms of the passing game, Stroud he completed 26 of 36 passes for 350 yards. He was sacked 4 times, and he threw 2 touchdown passes. He was on the run a lot. Jack had really good pressure up front on him, and so he was scrambling and running, sacked 4 times, but he did not turn the ball over. And in terms of the passing game, Nico Collins had a big day. He finished with 7 receptions for 104 yards, 1 touchdown. The other touchdown was to Tank Dell. And they were in that game, right? The final was 24-21. They had a shot late in the game, at the end of the game, to tie it with a field goal. It was a 58-yard attempt by Amendola. He was not successful. The ball hit the crossbar and it bounced back in, and so Amendola his issue isn't always his leg strength. And even he has said this, it has been the direction. Like he missed one earlier in the game. It's the 48-yard attempt wide, I don't know, right or left, pick a direction, but he missed it. It was wide. It wasn't that he didn't have the strength to get it through. So it was straight down the middle, but it just hit the crossbar. 6 inches, they're in overtime. But you can't let a game come down to the last minute and get to that point. Some other key things from Sunday's game is that the Jaguars had some really big explosive plays. They had like 4 big plays, and you really just can't afford to give those up. That makes all the difference in the world. They held Etienne to 56 yards of rushing. They held the Jags overall to 81 yards of rushing. If you had told me that before the game and that the Jags would lose, I'd be like, no way, they can't hold them in check from the run game and still lose. But then on the passing side, they gave up some explosive plays. They gave up a 45-yard play, a 42-yard play, a 22-yard play, and an 18-yard play, right? Those were struggles, and those plays put them in the hole and had the defense really behind the 8 ball a lot. That they were not able to get off the field on third down, and the Texans have not done well offensively on fourth down. So they've got some things to work on. There were some good things they did in the game, but they also have some things to work on. Here's head coach DeMeco Ryans, who quite frankly kind of summed it up. Not a whole lot to say, but here's him talking after the loss on Sunday.
The opportunity for us is one that, of course, we didn't play our best. And as I told our guys, you don't play your best, you don't execute versus a good team, this is what happens, right? There's no need to hold our head or sulk about anything. Like, we got to do something about it when we're out there on the field, right? We got to execute. We got to play better. You play better, you'll win the game. And today we didn't deserve to win because we didn't play good enough.
They didn't deserve to win. They didn't play good enough to win. And he said, listen, he compliments the team on what they do well, but he's very honest about what they do when they don't do things that are well. So that to the drawing board, right? In terms of getting ready for this week. Now it's Tuesday. They're putting the game plan in for next week. He talked a little about the Jags again on yesterday, but now from this point forward, they're going to be talking about facing those Broncos. A couple of good things. Del Perryman, a veteran linebacker, is back off his suspension. He will be active this weekend. That's going to be very helpful to them. Maybe we see Jimmy Ward back. They have missed Jimmy Ward tremendously in the secondary. His leadership and also obviously on-field ability, but just what he's able to do, what he means to that entire unit. So hopefully Jimmy Ward is close to coming back. If they could get him back this weekend, that would be amazing. But they are getting Denzel Perryman back. Titus Howard, we don't know. He went down in the game early on Sunday, and probably know more on tomorrow about whether or not Titus makes it back and is able to play this weekend. Juice Sports, the offensive lineman who was slated to kind of start at center, played in his first regular season contest on Sunday. He's been on injured reserve for most of the season. He got injured, preseason, and it was good to see him back. He was in, and coach said that he pleased with what he saw from Juice, and I think you can keep an eye on him because that is someone who they have some pretty high expectations of, and just from what he showed in camp. Now here's CJ, who I told you CJ's numbers on the day. He finished with 304 yards, passing yards. His longest was a 34-yard pass to Zaire Hutchinson, and he finished with a 116 point passer rating, if you care. But here's CJ talking about the contest with the Jags.
I don't think it hurts us like that. Like, of course, divisional, we want to win the game, and it hurts us pretty significant, man. It's about a mindset, though. Like, what we're gonna do? Not play no more? We're gonna just tuck our tail and not play hard? Like, nah, I don't really believe in that type of mindset. I'm going out there every play, every game, trying to win. So I don't really think that our season's over at all. It's a long year, but we have 6 more games to play, 7 more games to play. Like, it's a lot more football left, and you can see the trajectory we're on. We're taking strides, but we got to play complementary football. We got to play for offense. We got to help the defense. Defense got to help the offense. Special teams have to do their job too. So there's a lot of things we can learn from, but I think we're where we're at, and the sky's the limit still. There's no confidence taken away in this loss. We're going to learn from it. We're going to get better. We're going to go get a dub.
He said, hey, we're going to learn from it and go get a dub. They're going to get a W and they need one. They need that win on Sunday against the Denver Broncos because, as I said, they are still in the hunt for a spot in the playoffs. And it's that alone, this thing we were talking about in the summer. If we said, you know what, this team is they'll be playing for a playoff spot this year. I've been one who said maybe not this year. They're headed in the right direction. There's some things to be really positive and excited about if you follow this team. And that's certainly if you're a fan of this team, but maybe not a playoff, maybe not this year. Well, at 6-5, they are firmly in the race. I mean, they do definitely have a shot. And but there's one person who is not surprised. Andre Johnson, the GOAT, if you will, was kind of repping for H-Town. It was Battle Red Sunday at the Jags game. And so he he talked with us before the game on Sunday, and he is a person who is not at all surprised at the early success. Although they're 6-5, but from where they've been, it's definitely a different feeling. He said he was not at all surprised by what he is seeing. He's Andre Johnson.
The energy that was in this building was something totally different than it's ever been. I've been to every press conference except for Don Capers, when he was hired. So when DeMeco was hired, it was something totally different. You saw how many players came out, just how many people was here in the building, just people who rep the city of Houston that was here. So being his teammate, I always felt like he would be a coach. I think a lot of the guys that played with him knew he would be a coach at some point, and what he's doing with this team has been truly amazing. But, I'm not surprised about it. I made a comment earlier before the season even started. I said I thought they would win 10 games, and I had a few people that looked at me kind of crazy. So, I mean, nothing that they're doing surprising me, because he's the type of coach that you'll run through a brick wall. What do you think about that?
That was Andre Johnson, who said he was not at all surprised because he thought before the season they would win 10 games. And people looked at him kind of strange. And he talked about how he played with DeMeco. He always knew he would be a coach, and he knew he'd be a good coach. And the way he is able to really galvanize, my word, not his, people around him, the respect that other players have and staff and coaches have, why they're playing so well. That's well respected. He's well liked. They believe in him. And as he said, they will run through a wall for him. One of the things that also we asked Dre about is, you have any interest in maybe you coaching? And he said, well, I enjoy football. I'm always going to I love this team. I love this organization. I've given a lot of my life to it. And I want to see it do well, and I want to see us get to, a Super Bowl. And for a while, it hadn't been good. And, but I'm always going to be here because I just love the organization. If it was asked me, if something was put in front of me, I'd look at it. So to me, that was like, so maybe, if an opportunity came up and it was a right one, perhaps he would consider it. Another thing that Dre said that I found interesting, last week there was a little bit of news because JJ Watt has been working out over at the Texans facility and checking out practice. And on one of the national sports shows, I think it was McAfee, he talked about it. They asked him hey, would you come back? You thinking about trying to come back and play? And he said if he did, he'd want to go to Pittsburgh and, play with his brother. And so when Dre was asked, what did you think when you heard that JJ was working out in the building, just working out in the weight room and facilities and practicing? He said, well, I always thought he retired too early. I felt like he had something left. So interesting, there's been nothing from the Watt camp that should make us believe that, this he is trying to make a comeback, but I just thought it was interesting. And could he be helpful to this Houston Texans team? Yeah, I'm sure that's something that he could come in and help them do. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting and wanted to share that about Andre Johnson and his thoughts about JJ Watt and what he shared before the game on Sunday, and how he's just been excited really for what he's seen to this point. And he feels like the sky's the limit. He had great things to say about CJ Stroud, great things to say about Tank Dell and Nico Collins. He says it's just a very different feeling in the building and has been there in a while. And as a fan and as a member, he considers himself part of the organization. He's glad to see it. So it's always great to talk to Andre, right? The absolute GOAT. All right, shifting gears a little bit. Well, before we do that, before we go to basketball, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the changes happening on the college football scene. My alma mater, of course, last week fired former head coach Jimbo Fisher, paid him $75 million to go away. Or was it $76 million to go away. Let me just say, I never understood the contract extension and all the money they threw at. I didn't, but it didn't work. And they had to pay him off. They've got to buy him out. So he's gone. And then there was some fumbles with the coaching search. Did they make the offer to Mike Stoops at Kentucky? And did Mike say no? Did they not make the offer? End of the day, they have a coaching hire, right? They've hired Elko, who used to be the defensive coordinator a few years ago at Texas A&M University, has been the coach at Duke for the last 2 years. He left for the head coaching job at Duke. So listen, Elko's probably not going to win any press conferences. No one's going to accuse him of being terribly charismatic. But in terms of bringing back the structure to the organization, to the program, and some of the fundamentals and the way that you do things that have at times when this team has had some levels of success, that is what you expect from this coach. And so he's back. He knows A&M. He knows the culture. And we'll see. I think we'll see. I think it will be, was it a splash? I don't know that they needed to make a splash hire. I think they needed to make the right hire. And we'll find out if he's the one. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all. So we will see. But they have, the Jimbo Fisher thing was just really a mess. And so speaking of messes, the University of Houston has also is looking for a new head coach. They fired Dana over the weekend. I'm just trying to make sure that since I've been here, they fired Dana Holgerson after 5 seasons. I'm just making sure that they haven't hired anybody yet. They're supposed to interview UTSA's Jeff Traylor for the coach job. His name is one that has kind of been around. When you talk to some people in the know with the organization, they say that the move to hire Dana, they knew that was coming. It had been kind of planned for a couple of weeks or a few weeks back, but they weren't talking about it. I think they wanted to make sure that they had a shot at Jeff Traylor from UTSA. And so we'll see if he ends up being the guy. I'm told that there are like 3 finalists, but he is one that pretty much everybody is excited about. So, another name that has come up is Willie Fitz, the coach at Tulane. But I'm not sure that if he's a real candidate or not. But we do know that they are going to interview Coach Traylor, Jeff Traylor from UTSA. So you'll have a new coach with the University of Houston as they get ready to go into their second season in the Big 12. Their first season obviously did not end quite as they would have liked. And then you've got a new coach, Mike Elko, at Texas A&M. Whoops, let me just see. I think, what is this? So his key contract terms are what I'm seeing. So his annual base salary is $7 million. His postseason incentives, he gets another $1 million if they make the college football playoff. That means he gets to the Final Four. Gets another $1.5 million if they get to the quarterfinals and or win the SEC conference title. He gets $2 million if they advance to college football playoff semifinals. Well, I said college football playoff, that's 8 teams. Anyway, the semifinals, he gets $2 million. And then he gets another $2.5 million if he advances to the championship game. And then if he wins the national title, he gets $3.5 million. So that would make his base salary go from 8, 9.5, 11.5, 12, 14, 17. He could get to $17.5 million if he wins a national championship. Other incentives, if he appears in the SEC championship game, that's $100,000. He gets a measly $50,000 if he wins SEC Coach of the Year, $100,000 if he gets National Coach of the Year, and $50,000 for a multi-year APR of 960 or above. And the salary pool for assistant coaches, analysts, operations, recruiting, and strength and conditioning is $11 million. So, it's not the contract that Jimbo had, but he should be able to live on that with a base salary of $7 million. I mean, listen, it's a good gig if you could get it. So we'll see what happens with Mike Elko, but those are the terms as reported of his contract. So Mike Elko, the new head coach at Texas A&M University, takes over for the fired Jimbo Fisher. All right, so Jimbo Elko's in, Dana Holgorsen is out, and they're looking for a coach. And we will see what happens. Speaking of other universities that have moved on from their coaches, Texas Southern University is not renewing Coach McKinney, and so they're looking for a new coach. They're looking for someone to lead that program. Which way will they go? I heard some people over the weekend talk about Dooley. Well, he was just let go at Southern for not having the success there. I don't know that is the answer, but there have been a few names kind of bantered about, if you will, in terms of college. Other college coaches, high school coaches that have had a fair of success. There's one college coach, I think it's from Valdosta. Where is the coach from that I heard about? Let me see if I can find it really quickly about who might be on the list. I was looking at this earlier, and they just have struggled, right, in terms of the football program. They've had success with basketball. They struggled on the football side. And there's some people who say you just can't win with football. You can't win with football at Texas Southern University just because of resources and how everything's structured. I just find it hard to believe that you just cannot win. So here is Coach McKinney's record. He spent 5 seasons at TSU. He finished with 12 wins, 35 losses. They went 3-8 this fall. They peaked with a record of 5-6 in 2022. And, so he was, Kenny, remember he came here from Arizona. He had been Sumlin's assistant head coach and running backs coach at Arizona before taking the Texas Southern job. So we will see which direction Texas Southern University goes. That football program has been in need of a boost of some sort for quite a while. They've tried a number of different things. So we'll see. I don't know. I haven't heard. I did hear a couple of names that I was going to share. So I mentioned Dooley, which I don't think is a real viable option. And they talked about maybe there's some successful head Texas high school coaches like Jason Todd, he's a SWAC coach, Tony Hull, and Tremaine Jackson, who I believe is the head coach at Valdosta, NCAA Division II head coach. So those are some of the early names that we heard, but they've got to fill that position because what they don't want to do is they don't want they don't want to fall way behind in recruiting. So they've got to find somebody who's got a relationship with these Texas high school football coaches, and we'll see which way they go. Tony says, Coach Prime to U of H, Chris Pesman should make that push. Yeah, why would he come to U of H? I mean, he's already, I don't see him doing that. But it's interesting. to see what they do. And it's interesting, I think for Coach Prime, the key for him is to get for some more resources. And I say resources, really more talent. I think people knew when he went in, there was a talent to won some big games early and made a push. And then he's kind of leveled off because he lost some games that, they were outplayed and that program has been, I want to say, kind of underwater for a while. And you got to have, so I think he's going to focus on that. I don't think he would leave to go to U of H. The job that he really wanted was to go back to Florida State. Florida State has turned around. I think he wanted to go there. I think they were interested, but then when the current coach turned things around in a way that, you can make the move. So I think he's going to be, I would imagine, I've had no conversation with Dion. So this is just me, Kim Davis, talking. I imagine he is going to take his time about doing anything else. And he definitely doesn't want to be at a school for 1 year, one season, one football year, and jump ship. I think that's difficult. So I don't expect it, but I don't expect that Pesman would even make that push. I mean, would he be good at Houston? I'm sure, but yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, Tony, to see which way things go. Jump into basketball a little bit, because I definitely want to talk about what's happening in the NBA and talk a little bit about those Houston Rockets. So the Rockets are playing this in-season or a part of this in-season tournament, the inaugural season. And I've had people ask me to explain it, and I always struggle to do so because, I know no in-season tournament. I believe that the goal is to get people interested in the NBA a little sooner, right, before, football season's over, trying to create some other interest. So when you watch the in-season tournament, the games of the tournaments, like tonight, the Astros, the Rockets play their final tournament game. They're in Dallas taking on the Mavericks. The Rockets are 2-1 in the tournament. If they win tonight, they advance to the next round. And the ultimate is to get to the finals, right? The championship, where there's 4 teams advancing to the championship round, if I'm saying it right, in Vegas. And the winning team, everybody gets on the team to an extra $500,000 million. So, yeah, the players get a little excited. Maybe we get to go to Vegas for a few days, or, you get some extra money, right? But, it's I think everybody's kind of struggled to really, articulate, what is this in-season tournament? You see things like the courts painted differently. If you watch the games, you see the Rockets courts look different for these tournament games. These games do all count, like the records. When you win or lose these games are part of your NBA record for the season. And here's head coach Ime Udoka after practice yesterday talking about the tournament.
Yeah, my initial was about the same as most people. What's it for? But I did play in Europe before too, and staying as Coach Del Rey, and it's a big thing to win that. Besides the playoffs and the championship, understood that part of it, but also I was, playing was the same way. It's just something we're not accustomed to initially, and it has its benefits, as you said, but get into it. So as far as distance is concerned, you see the court, you see the one, monetary incentive, but also an opportunity for a young team or anybody to put a feather in their cap.
So for an opportunity there's a monetary piece, but also to put a feather in your cap. It doesn't have any impact what happens in terms of at the end of the season, other than these wins or losses count as a part of your season record. You try to the playoffs, playoffs at the end of the season. So that was head coach Ime Udoka. The Rockets last was at home Saturday night. Was it Saturday night? It was Friday night, where they defeated the Denver Nuggets for the second time. And yes, they defeated the Nuggets without Jamal Murray, and clearly it's a difference when he is not with the team. He's been injured, and so Denver has definitely missed him. But they still have the Joker, who's just amazing, right? He is just amazing. So this is Ime talking about the win when they beat Denver. It's the second time they beat Denver. Of course, both times Murray has been out, and the first time they won, Coach Udoka said, "Listen, I'm aware of who's not there, but all we can do is play the team that shows up." And so I'm always right there with you. Like, you play the team that shows up. We get the players that were not on the court, but here's Ime after that Denver win.
It's sometimes a very simple game. You know, what we saw in the first half, they got us the lead, and then what we showed them at halftime. At times, for sometimes younger players, it gets too easy. You go away from what got you there. So they did increase their pressure and bring the big up and pull the weak side in some, and we just have to obviously get into the pocket or find our weak side. And a lot of those balls got tipped, but I did like our response to battle back. You know, kind of guarded Jokic one-on-one and try to keep everybody else in check, and that ended up being a good strategy for us, taking away the threes, and he can have what he wants.
He can have what he wants, and in fact he did. I think maybe he finished with 35 points. He's just a matchup problem, right? You know, Jokic he's just really good. It looks really effortless. You think he's not trying very hard, but he's very, very difficult to match up with. Alpi, who some people jokingly refer to as the baby Joker. Alpi in his third season is really taking a big step forward in terms of his skill set and what he's doing on the court. So he's grown each season in this current system, and having veterans around that can, you know, help push and guide, in addition to the coaching staff, has been good for Alpi. Here is Alpi talking after that win against the Nuggets.
You know, that was our game plan. We're going to score, because I think when he pass and give his teammate assist, I think he's more effective. And we did our game plan, and then we hold them in the 8-6 points, which is great for us.
How special was this win, seeing the way that you played and Jalen and Jabari, the three young guys together?
Like you mean like how we playing good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, we learning a lot of things. Jabari got Jabari, how I can say, Jabari playing great, helping us a lot. He's being great in defense, on offense. He makes a lot of shots for us, which is Jalen. They double team him all the time, but now, you know, if it's last year, it was turnover and other things, but now he beating, he passing, he finding the pocket, like, you know, which is great for us. Everybody's learning.
So that was Alpi, who, remember when he came, this is his third season. For the last 2 seasons, a little bit last year, he spoke on his own, but he had an interpreter for sure the first season, but he's come a long way. I just wanted to mention that. Tony says Udoka's voice is low and monotone. It's tough to hear. My apologies about that. His voice is really low. I mean, I don't know. I've only known him as long as he's been here, you know, as the Rockets coach. Not a lot of emotion. He does speak kind of low, kind of monotone. That seems to be his personality. I'm sure with the players, they get a different guy, but that's the guy that we get. And, you know, there could be a number of reasons why. That may be who he is. That just may be him. That may be his way of being guarded a bit, since because of the way things ended at his last place. And but yeah, it is my apologies about that, Tony. It is tough to hear him. Here's Jalen after the win over the weekend, you know, and Jalen has had to work to find his way, and he's getting there. I think he's getting more confident, and he's getting into the flow of things, and he's having fun. I mean, since he's here, it's the first time that this team is actually winning some ball games.
I mean, every response to, you know, a lead or a run or anything like that is always great. I think we held our composure together, stayed together, and we're just competing.
Is Fred testing your vertical on that alley?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like you can throw it anywhere. I'll go get it.
How much does it mean to you guys to be playing so well at home and have the fans excited and just kind of having fun out there for the first time in a while?
It means a lot. You know, H-Town putting on for us, showing up. We just got to get one on the road now. I think that's the biggest goal. The next step for us is I like your glasses. Those are fire. Next step is just getting wins on the road, so that's what we focus on.
And yet, these are the glasses actually that I had on that night when he was talking about electric glasses. I had people say, I bet it, who was the person he was talking about their glasses? And then there were some of you who said, I know it's Kim Davis. And they wanted to know which glasses. So these actually are the glasses that I had on Friday night. I guess the game was Friday night. So that was Jalen. You heard from Alpy. And then last but certainly not least, here is Jabari. Because he's also, this is his second season. So they got the young guys, the Jabaris and the Alpies and the Jalen's who are, have kind of bought into this new philosophy of play and program and this focus, if you will, on defense. Here's Jabari.
Fred made sure that we held it up and just relax. We're still winning, and there's no reason to panic and change what got us here. We just had to settle down a little bit and just, trust it, and just spread the lead back a little bit more and just know that it wasn't going to be easy. It's an NBA team, and they've been down before and came back. So we'll just try to stay together and not panic.
You said he made sure. How did he make sure?
Just huddling us up, letting us know, telling everybody to calm down and just, being that leader we need.
How much?
So that was Jabari, and Tony, kind of what you said. I got more sound from practice yesterday, but with him bouncing, shooting around in the background, it is difficult to hear if you're not right in the person's face. So I'm not going to play any more of those clips because it's just loud. That those practice situations are kind of tough to hear. I did want you to hear from Ime talking about the tournament. And that when he first found out about it, he said, okay, so what's it for? And I think that's the question that many of us had. Like, so what's it for? How's it? So we play and it's an in-season tournament. And quite frankly, let's be clear, anytime the NBA or any organization or any league can find a way to either create some other sponsorship opportunities for money or added value for their sponsors, with the financial piece being the bottom line, they're always more than likely going to do that. So, credit some of that to what's happening. Tonight, as I mentioned, the Rockets are back in action. They're in Dallas, playing the Mavericks. And then for some reason, my phone is not coming up. But they play the Mavericks tonight. Then they are on the road. They go to LA on Friday, I believe. I think they have a back-to-back. Let me look at the schedule. Rocket schedule. Right. So they're at Dallas tonight. They're at Denver tomorrow night. And then they're in LA on Friday night. So after that, next week is the tournament in Vegas. So either they advance and are playing in Vegas next week, or they basically have a week off and they come back. Their next game is 11 against the Spurs. And so Houston fans will get their first opportunity to see Wemby in person. And that's on the 11th. It's a Monday night. And that's the next time that they are actually back home in front of the Toyota Center crowd. So they're on the road for a bit, either on the road for 3 games. The other thing Ime was saying, pack longer because you just don't know if they advance when they leave from the game in LA. They play Dallas and Denver. So there's a back-to-back tonight and tomorrow. Then they're off Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday night, they play the Lakers in Los Angeles. And depending on how they finish in this tournament, they will go to Vegas for the play in the final push of the tournament, or they'll have those days off and come home early and get ready for their next stretch of games starting on the 11th. It's interesting. I've told you all I really know. And in terms of understanding, but I guess the point is to try to make people more interested about basketball. And I don't know that it's doing that because there's an in-season tournament. If fans are buying into it more, the players want when they play. I don't know that helps them want to win more, but we'll see. It is ongoing. The Rockets are 8-6. The Mavericks are 10-6. And it should be, it should be a good game tonight. It'll be first time in Dallas this regular season. So that is what's happening. Next up for the Texans, as I mentioned, is a game against the Denver Broncos on Sunday at NRG Stadium, and then they are on the road. They've been home for a minute. This wraps up their 3-game homestand. And they definitely want to win. They always want to win, right? But they need to get this win on Sunday to keep their playoff hopes alive and give them some control over their future. Let me see what the early line is on this game, because I haven't seen that yet. So let's go this NFL and see what they say about Sunday. That game wasn't necessarily, flex completely, but it would have been a 3:00 game. It is a noon game, so it'll be a noon national game. So the Texans are 3.5-point favorites at this point in the game on Sunday. The Texans and the Broncos are both 6-5. And so both teams really need this to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Broncos have won 5 in a row after kind of that horrendous start they had, including getting beat by the Dolphins by 70 points. So the Texans need this one on. They need this one on Sunday. They don't want to fall to 6-6. They need to get to 7-5 to really keep their playoff hopes alive. And then the rest of the season, the rest of the way for the Texans, they have the Broncos on Sunday at home. Then they go on the road for 2 weeks. They go to the Jets, and then they go to play at the Titans. And you think both of the games should win, and they should. The Jets defense is pretty good, though, right? So that Jets defense is one you've got. They're gonna have to get those line issues kind of worked out. They've got to get that worked out. The Titans who just have not been very good, but that's always a matchup for this team just because of the ongoing rivalry. Then come back home and they play the Cleveland Browns. So we know that Deshaun Watson is out, but we also know that Browns defense is just tenacious. The question is, when they play here on Christmas Eve, will they be playing with Myles Garrett? He went out with a sling, his arm in a sling, he injured. He's just been disruptive and reckless for opposing offenses this season. And so we'll see. They are a different team without Myles Garrett. And then they come back and play the Titans at home on New Year's Eve and end the season against the Colts. That game could be meaningful again this year, but for a very different reason, right? And the Colts right now, let me go back to kind of where they are in terms of, let's look at standings. So the playoffs. If the playoffs were to start today, and we know that they don't, in the AFC, you obviously have Baltimore, Kansas City, Jacksonville, and Miami. So Baltimore is at 9-3, best record in the AFC. Kansas City, Jacksonville, and Miami are all at 8-3. Those are the leaders of the divisions. And in the wild card, you have Pittsburgh at 7-4, Cleveland at 7-4, and Indianapolis at 6-5. Houston's right under that, just sitting outside the playoffs at 6-5. Now, if Houston and Pittsburgh end up with the same record, Houston wins a tiebreaker because they beat the Steelers. They lost the first game to the Colts. We'll see what happens when they play Colts again at the end of the season. They also play Cleveland. Cleveland comes here. So, like I said, Houston's very much in control of their own destiny if they go out and get these wins. Houston and Denver are both sitting back at 6-5. The same, pretty much the same record. Houston's at like 4 in the wild card race based on some other stats. But you want to win the playoff, the tiebreaker with the other AFC teams. So they still have to play Cleveland, Indianapolis, Denver, and Tennessee twice. Tennessee's 4-7. They're way out of it. Like, they're not headed there. They got to play the Jets, another AFC team. They're not headed there either. So it'll be interesting. It's just kind of cool to think that we're talking about the Houston Texans and games they play that matter in late November and December. It's been a minute to keep that from, since we've actually had conversations about the Texans in games that mattered this late in the season. Tony says the NFL trying to keep anything away from the Philly San Francisco window. Yeah, that game is going to be what? Okay, this dude here is crazy. I don't know who Paul Peters is, but I'm gonna let that one slide. But yeah, that Philly San Francisco game will be interesting, right? That Philly San Francisco game will be interesting. Let me go to the NFC. So in the NFC, Philadelphia, of course, has the best record at 10-1. San Francisco is 8-3. Detroit is 8-3. Atlanta's 8-3. Dallas is 8-3. With Dallas being in the same division with Philly, they would be a wild card team. And Seattle and Minnesota. Seattle is 6-5. Minnesota at 6-6. And Green Bay, after losing 3 of the first 4 games, is now up to this 5-6 record. So listen, down the stretch, it should be interesting. The games matter. They pretty much all matter for most of the teams, and I look forward to it. So with that, we are out of time. As always, thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. Another reminder for those of you in the Houston area to make sure you vote. If you say, well, Kim, I didn't vote in the general election, it doesn't matter. Even if you did not vote in the general election and you're registered, you can vote in the runoff. Make sure that you vote. Your voice matters, and the only way it's heard is through voting. So get out and vote. Vote your values. Vote what matters for you and your family and your community. It is a right, a privilege, and quite frankly, it's really a responsibility. So I'm encouraging you to do that. I think there's nothing else I can say about it other than get out to vote. And if you've already voted, early voting started yesterday. It runs through December 5th. The actual election day, the runoff day, is December 9th. I always vote early. You never know what's going to be happening on election day. So I encourage you to vote early. You've got a couple of weeks. You have all this week. You have Saturday and Sunday of this weekend and all next week through Friday. So you've got time to vote. So make sure that you do that. It's your civic duty. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to make a voice heard. So make sure that you get out and vote. With that said, out of time for today. Don't forget about Jinka and Kimmy Treats. You won't be sorry. Looking forward to a couple of new partners joining us soon. And starting in December, there's a very good chance I'll be doing this Tuesday show at a local dealership. I'm working that out. I will let you know next Tuesday in case you want to swing by when I'm doing the show live. But listen, a lot of exciting things coming up. Stay tuned. Make sure you follow me on all of my platforms. And I look forward to seeing you right back here next Tuesday on Chalk Talk. Make it a great, great week. Remember, get out to vote. Make sure you do something kind for yourself. And make sure you do something kind for somebody else. Peace.